Hello everyone, welcome back to another Train Sim World 6 video. Today we're back on yet another route that I have forgotten about for the longest time. Today we are on the remastered Cathcart Circle line by Dovetail Games and remastered by Grump Dog Games. We are in the Class 380/0 Desiro by ScotRail, and we're doing an anti-clockwise run around the Cathcart Circle to from here at Glasgow Central back to Glasgow Central. So yeah, this is one of the few service types in TSW where the destination is the same as the departure station, I should say. So yeah, let's get started. As you can see, we do have a Pendolino on our left hand side there, presumably heading back down to Euston in a bit. Master key. Oh, let's keep it neutral. Open the doors. Oh, GSMR is registering. Just make sure. Let's get that done. Don't think we have to worry about anything else apart from safeties, so let's go have a look at those. So let's just get you. Vigilance, DSD, AWS, and TPWS temporary. Yeah, I am using the default sound set, but there is a... Oh, hello. There goes a Class 158. There is a lot of different stock at this station. So we've got a Pendolino, 385, 158, 314, 314, 385, 314, 380. What are you? You're a 380, you're a 185, and you are a 380. So a lot of... One thing, which was my main complaint about the old Cathcart Circle before remaster, was that this route was quite quiet and you could only see the Class 3 and 4. Now, honestly, the route almost has the opposite problem. There's so many trains at Glasgow Central that it's giving my PC quite a difficult time. Yeah, so that's... Anything in here that I have to worry about? No. Let's have a look at the passenger saloon. No passengers on. Well, oh, never mind. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any passengers on board today. Annoying, but it is what it is. Let me shut you. Right. First stop is Pollock Shields West. Oh, I forgot to put the DRA on. Because we are at a red signal. You know, I'd forgotten something. I've also got the map zoomed out all the way, so... Next stop, Pollock Shields West, and I've got the clearance. 50% juice. How's the performance? 28 FPS from the get-go. That's not good. If you're wondering why this thing sounds so similar to the LNWR Class 350 from West Coast Mainline South, well, that's basically what they are underneath. They're all members of the Desiro UK family. So yeah, they do sound quite similar. I might honestly get a thumbnail with this Pendolino here. Hang on. Let's see. And now, so let's see if we time that correctly. We might want to advance time a bit. Oh. Let's go advance. Okay, I do not know why the camera just did that. Yes. Me like. Let's not change the weather. Let's do a tad of depth of field fiddling. Already getting the thumbnail this into a run. Nice. Let's go 20% on motion blur just to make it like a subtle. So subtle I can't even see it. Let's go 50%. And bam. There we go. Alright. Easy does it. One thing about the 380, which I absolutely adore, is it is one of the most well-performing units in this entire game. It has some bonkers acceleration and braking, which I assume is realistic. And yeah, I think this is also one of the first units to be fitted with dynamic suspension as well. I think, yeah. But of course, that honour goes to the Just Trains British Rail Pacer from Blackpool Branches. Because that was the first train in the entire game to have dynamic suspension, even beating Dovetail Games to the punch, and Dovetail only implemented it as a base feature later on in the Trains of 1 4 hour. There's another train. Alright, let's go to 20 miles an hour. Yeah, there's a lot of... If you like ScotRail stuff and you also like train spotting, there's a 158. Oh man, it's so good for train spotting. Like, Glasgow Central is very good for train spotting, I must say. If you're wondering what service this is 2 India 25 Glasgow Central to Glasgow Central anti-clockwise. So we are running a full service today. Yeah. The reason I wanted to come back to this route was because I have not made a video on Cathcart Circle in a good bit. This route, yeah. I've honestly pretty much forgotten about this. There is actually a new layer on this route, which is probably unintentional, but yeah, it's the Direct Rail Services Class 20 by Skyhook Games from Cargo Line Volume 5. And for some reason, it has a layer to do the rail tools on this line, which I think is unintentional, since, yeah, it substitutes in along with the Tees Valley Class 20. But yeah, at least the layer actually works. The DRS Class 20 also substitutes onto the West Somerset Railway, and if you try to do a passenger service with it, the passenger coaches just don't spawn at all. Also, I am running with live weather today and mods enabled, so yeah, you'll probably see, yeah. So yeah, you'll probably see like weather changing, and also I do have house performance now. Ooh, 50. I also have something. I also have a TSW mod collection from the description. Oh no. Yeah, the sound set on this unit is decent, but if you want a better sound set, you could go and install the the sound mod by Itsia165 on the Train Sim Community website if you're on PC. But the sound set is so good that on the base train I don't really bother with it, because I love how we got the James Bond unit just through RNG, the 007 unit. Alright, 800 yards to Pollock Shields West. Remember, we are doing an anti-clockwise run, so we're going around here and then back up there. This route makes me want to take out the Thomson Interactive Glasgow subway route in Train Sim Classic. That's one of the few routes I actually do have in TS Classic. A bit boring, but very interesting indeed. Okay, we have a speed limit of 30 into the platform at Pollock Shields West, and then we have a, yeah. Also, there is something funny about this unit. Some members of the TSW community, looking at you, DC 4260 Productions and the Flying Southerner, who insist on calling this unit the German Haggis, which I don't really know why. It's just fun. I just brought that up because I thought it was funny. Oh. Yeah, see what I meant about this thing having absurd braking and acceleration? Yeah. We are early into Pollock Shields West, which is good. The Cathcart Circle is quite on a tight timetable. Unlocking doors. Yeah.
If you require assistance at any time, feel free to contact a member of station staff or use a help point.
I forgot this route has platform announcements, but it's just like the safety announcements and stuff. The Cathcart Circle was nominally developed by Dovetail Games, but they did have a lot of help from Rivet Games in developing this route, and then it was remastered by Liam of Grunt Dog Games, who is still at the time in Dovetail Games. Right, 100% power, and this thing just takes off. My goodness, this thing is ridiculously quick. Also, if you do want to take this on a more like less stops, more high-speed run, this thing actually substitutes into the Sprinter Express timetable on Edinburgh to Glasgow, and has AI on the Sprinter Express timetable for 5 circles, so you can actually take this thing on a full run of the Edinburgh to Glasgow. Which I highly recommend you do this. You do a full run in the Edinburgh to Glasgow in the 380 instead of the 385, because the 385 has is probably the train with the worst visibility in the entire game, and I really do not. It's a decent unit in terms of modeling and sounds, especially after the Itzia 165 sound pack from the Train Sim Community website. The default sounds are not good, but yeah, I just don't drive it because the visibility is awful. Prefer driving the 380 because at least you do get, while the visibility is somewhat limited, it still is decent. It still has decent visibility. Welcome to Maxwell Park. Yeah, this route was made before like train faults and announcements were a thing, unfortunately. So we don't have any of those. But hey, I don't really use train faults at all. Even on the routes that have them. I have Riviera, Morristown, Leipzig, Dresden, and yeah, they don't really have. I don't really use faults at all. I just keep them turned off. Right, we have a 35 limit, then a 40. What's the next stop? Shorelands. It's been so long since I did a run around the Cathcart circle. Most of the time, if I'm doing a 380 run, I do like a Newton or Neilston service. So, Newton, Neilston. But yeah, I don't really, just do a run around the circle. The most recent service I did is that there is one service unlocked by the Engineering Express gameplay pack that Rivet Games did for Edinburgh to Glasgow. You take the Ocean Network Express Class 66 from Newton up to Shields Depot, dragging a broken down Class 385 behind you, and you put the 385 using the 66. You put the 385 in the depot, and then you park the 66. It's very nice, and it actually is one of the few opportunities to give you to let you use the. That is actually, I think, the first time I ever used the Class 66's slow speed control, despite me having the Class 66 from day one that I got this game. Shorelands? Yeah, so if you're wondering why the dynamic suspension might be a bit different, I think Dovetail actually refined how they work, overshot a bit there, how the suspension works. Not entirely sure how, but yeah. So the suspension might be a bit better than it was before. Not too sure. Yeah, so we're at Shorelands, next stop, Pollock Shores East. Right. Put the reverser forward, shut the doors. Yeah, I don't think the 380 has guard mode. I don't think it does. Right, maximum oomph. This thing is just bananas acceleration. Look at that. Wouldn't give a car run for its money, but by train standards, this thing accelerates quite quickly. Right, next stop, Pollock Shores East. We do have a 40 limit until further notice. Yeah. Doing this at the 380 is, for some reason, I find it far more satisfying than doing it in the 314. I still drive the 314 from time to time, but I just don't really use the 314 anymore. I just drive the 380 because I think that's the best one. Got the 380 day one. Well, not day one. Decently close time to release. And oh man, what a excellent piece of technology. It's one of the few modern electric multiple units in this game with a decent amount of character. Oh, there we go. So what we've got next? Langside. Okay, so we're here. We've got to go down here. Oh, it's Langside, then Cathcart and then back up toward Glasgow. Shutting doors 10 seconds before you're supposed to go seems to work quite well in this unit. My goodness. We're doing almost line speed as soon as we leave. Almost within the platform. That's just nuts. Yeah. In fact, probably the only unit to exceed this in terms of acceleration would be the Southwestern Rail Class 484 done by Rivet Games on Island 9 2022. One of my favorite routes in the game. Because, yeah, that thing seems to have, for some reason, seems to have quite overpowered physics. Not exactly sure if that's realistic, but yeah. Getting a bit enthusiastic on the horn there. Seems to be good weather in Glasgow today. I do love the live weather mod. If you could get it, I highly recommend it, because it does add that, inject that little extra dose of realism into a run that you do not get with just the weather preset, or the awful base dynamic weather. I really do not like the base dynamic weather that we get in this game. It's so broken to this day. Yeah, you can tell in places that the scenery is not up to modern standards. Like, look at all those repeated assets. But it's not really that obvious, if I'll be honest. So, let's get the camera positioned, ready for the off. Because I want to do like a standing stop shot. Standing start thing. Excuse me. Good thing I have a mute button on my mic.
Unauthorized points may be clamped or removed without warning. Short and long stay parking is available at this station.
Watch this. And just like that, we're doing line speed. This thing is a rocket ship and a half. Yeah. We're just, according to the TSW grapevine, speaking of the Class 484, we seem to be getting the Great Western Express remaster within the next couple of weeks. Oh, crumbs. That's the 20 limit. Good thing this thing has good brakes. Seem to be getting the Great Western Express remaster within the next couple of weeks or so, which I'm highly excited for, since I do have quite a bit of experience with the Reading to Paddington line. And one thing which I'm really excited for is that the Class 484 from Island 9 2022 is getting a new livery to backdate it to its D-stock condition, still with the Class 484 numbers on the front, but it will be a much better representation of the D-stock than just using the 1972 tube stock over again. And one thing, yeah, and we'll be able to use that for the section of the Circle and Hammersmith and City lines, if I'm not mistaken, between what is it, Paddington and Ealing Broadway. Because the route's actually getting a little extension, because in the original Great Western Express remaster, the track between, for the Circle and Hammersmith and City lines, between Paddington and Ealing Broadway doesn't link up, so the Great Western Express is actually getting a slight extension to link up the two bits of underground line that we have, and making it so we can drive the D-stock between Paddington and Ealing Broadway, which is very nice. Forgot to put it in neutral. Oops. Right, so now we're at the bottom of the circle. Now we've just got the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Glasgow Central stations left. I do have the layer enabled at the moment where you can see LNWR Class 350s at Glasgow Central. I should have probably turned that off, if I'm being honest, because I don't like that layer. It's supposed to represent when Transpennine Express had 350s loaned from LNWR. But to see LNWR 350s at Glasgow Central, which is well out of their operating territory, considering LNWR, the farthest north LNWR operates is Crewe, I think. It is highly unrealistic to see, and I should have turned off that layer beforehand, but I forgot. Should have prepared. I need to prepare more for these videos, man. Ah, well. Next stop, Mount Florida. Oh, 35 limit. There we go. Yeah. You don't get to take the 380 up to very high speeds, but it's still a lot of fun. Ooh, 314. Nice. You don't see the 314 too often in the 2024 timetable. It's been, yeah, once you get to like August of 2026, this remaster will be 2 years old, and then this route will be like, it's from what, this route is originally from what, 2022? Something like that? So, yeah, that'll be quite a lot of, yeah, this route will have been around for a while. Excuse me. Alright, we have just over a minute here. Let's see if we've got any passengers in the back now. Oh, yay! We have passengers. Nice. Glad to see. Also, I think this remaster was made before, like, working lifts became a... No, working lifts were a thing on, like, the Suffragette line, but I don't think this line has any working lifts. Which is a shame, but it is what it is, unfortunately. Let me shut you real quick. Nope, wrong door, wrong door. That door. Thank you. Yeah, because this thing does have gangway stuff. It's equipped to have gangways between units, so... Right, maximum welly. Next stop, Cross Hill. 30 limit coming up, so I gotta keep an eye out for that. My goodness, this thing just... Oh, my word, this thing is quick. Goodness gracious. And it was really a Scottish time, like August of 2024, because we got the 380, we got the great Cathcart remaster, the Class 380, and then we also got the ScotRail Class 158 for Edinburgh to, well, it was at the time Edinburgh to Glasgow, and it didn't layer onto 5 Circle until just a couple of months ago, like November of 2025. It took over a year to implement the Class 158 Sprinter timetable for some reason, and it's still filled with bugs and still has missing services thanks to the fact we don't have an Inter7 City HST yet that Skyhook are apparently making. But yeah, I digress. So yeah, like August of 2024, that was like a whole like, it's like a whole like you know, is like a whole ScotRail time. We got 2 new ScotRail add-ons and a Scottish Route remaster. We haven't got any new Scottish routes since then, because 5 Circle was already out by then. So yeah, the newest Scottish route is still 5 Circle. I would love to see an East Coast Mainline North, like Edinburgh Waverley to Newcastle upon Tyne. Would be awesome. But I don't think that's ever going to happen, unfortunately, because still, despite... For almost 2.5 years now, we've only had 1 East Coast Mainline route, and that's Peterborough to Doncaster, which is one of the more mediocre routes in this game, I have to admit. Next stop, Queen's Park. Like, Peterborough to Doncaster for the freight, if you have Cargo Line Volume 3 installed, is decent for the freight stuff, but that doesn't excuse the just having the one LNER 801, no LNER 800, no Hull Trains Class 802, no Lumo Class 803, no Grand Central Class 220, no Grand Central 180. I could go on, and it's also like the most boring stretch of the East Coast Main Line over the entire thing. Like, why did they choose Peterborough to Doncaster? Like, everyone assumed it would be King's Cross to Peterborough, which would have been the logical choice, but no. They had to choose the most boring and underwhelming section of the East Coast Main Line. Sorry if it sounds like I'm a bit salty about this, but I am. The fact we still have East Coast only one pretty terrible East Coast Main Line route after all these years. And then we keep getting all this West Coast Main Line content. We've got we had West Coast Main Line South, we got Preston Carlisle, we've got Birmingham Crewe, we're going to get Trent Valley, and Preston Crewe coming as well. Alright, almost time to go. Sorry if it sounds like I'm a bit salty, but having such a dearth of East Coast Main Line content in comparison to the absolute huge amount of West Coast Main Line content is irking, to say the least. But there are some, and I say this, and Preston to Carlisle is my current favourite route in the game. Probably I'll say Great Western Express is my favourite after the remaster, but yeah. And then once Tadami comes out, that'll take the top spot from day one, of course, because, oh my goodness, that was a sharp turn and a half. Anyway, yeah. Though, to be fair, most of the West Coast Main Line content we have is decent. West Coast Main Line South is, well, short, admittedly decent. If you have the Avanti Class 805, Class 390, of course, and Cargo Line Volume 3 and 5. I don't have the Avanti 805 yet, but I'm hoping to pick it up on a decent sale. That was a sharp stop. Is this our last stop before Glasgow? It is our last stop before Glasgow Central. Anyway. Yeah, this is our last stop before Glasgow Central. There's the line we went off on, so we've already completed a loop. Yeah. The West Coast Main Line stuff that we have is decent. Like, I've already gone through West Coast Main Line South is good. Preston to Carlisle is excellent. Like, I can highly recommend that, and the Class 86/2. We've got Preston Crewe upcoming, also from Just Trains. We've got Birmingham to Crewe. I've heard that route is decent, but the performance is awful. I'm holding off on getting Birmingham to Crewe, hopefully until a giant sale, like 80% off seems to be decent value for money. Oh goodness, decent value for money. Anyway, then we're getting Trent Valley. That's another All Aboard Studios route. So hopefully they've learned their lesson from Birmingham to Crewe. And it won't be as buggy. Oh crumbs! Slow down. This is a 380. And then the what is it? I'm trying to remember. Is there any other West Coast mainline routes I've forgotten? No, I don't think so. So once Trent Valley and Preston to Crewe come out, we'll have the entire West Coast main line, except for bits of the Birmingham branch, including like Birmingham International, all the way from Euston up to Carlisle, and then we'll need. I would like to see a. I know I'm talking about like, oh, there's so much West Coast main line content coming out. One West Coast mainline route I would like to see, but we don't have announced yet, is a West Coast mainline north Carlisle to Glasgow route. So you could do a full trip from Euston to Glasgow Central and Edinburgh Waverley. That would be awesome. I don't know if that'll happen. Pedalino approaching. Nice. I forgot. Yeah. Look at that. I must admit, the Pendolino does have a decent sound set. 20 limit, 0.6 miles to Glasgow. Yeah, well, performance is still decent, but that's probably because we haven't loaded everything in at Glasgow Central yet. That'll be interesting to see once we load everything in at Glasgow Central. Hopefully we won't see a LNWR Class 350, but we'll see about that. We do have clear signals all the way into Glasgow Central, which is good, because I have often been held outside Glasgow Central for another train to come out of my platform, which is vaguely annoying, but it is what it is. Oh, cloud cover increased. What platform are we heading for? Platform 8. Are we heading for the exact same platform we came out of? And I think that Pendolino was the... No, there's... Okay. I think that Pendolino was the one we were looking at earlier. Right, brake. Forgot about the 15 limit. Good thing this thing has good brakes. Alright. How's the performance doing? 45 FPS? But it probably hasn't loaded in everything properly yet. So I'm expecting the frame rate to plunge as everything at Glasgow Central loads in. Speaking of which, let's just watch the frame rate drop. I'll leave the frame rate counter on for a minute as everything loads in. Okay, that's went from 41 to 33. Now it's at 35. Okay, we're up a little bit. It's averaging like 34, 35 frames a second. Yeah, it definitely did go down though when everything was loaded in. Alright, 1 minute earlier to Glasgow Central. That is very good. Apparently, you could also see LNER Class 801s here from Peterborough to Doncaster, but I've never seen them here before, so don't know if that's true or not. Alright, welcome to Glasgow Central. Let's see if there's any trains of interest around. Oh, never mind. That was quick. Lost 195 points to speeding, but still got a platinum medal. So yeah, that'll be all for this video, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, become a channel member if you can, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.